Hey, hello, my fellow property managers. It's Marc Cunningham. Well, when this video is coming out, we're approaching the end of the year. Do you know how many doors you've lost this year? Not just how many doors, but what percentage? What is your attrition rate? How many doors, if you're operating your business well, should you expect to lose? Because we don't know what, is there an industry average? If I'm doing a good job, am I doing a bad job? I bring on some new ones. Like, how do I even pay attention to this? This is a very important metric for you to measure the success of your business. And that is, how many doors should you expect to lose? So let me offer you a couple best practices and then tell you, based upon where you score yourself, how well in business you're doing. So the first thing you need to do is understand what attrition is. Attrition is simply the doors that leave you on an annual basis. You say, well, Mark, if I'm doing a good job, nobody will leave, right? Well, no, you're always going to have some attrition. Life happens to people. They need to sell the property, death, divorce, they need to move back into the property, they're going to move their cousin into it, so they don't need to hire you anymore as a property manager. You're going to lose some doors every year, which, by the way, is why you have to be growing. So how do we measure? Like, how do you even know what your attrition rate is? Well, it's a very simple equation. Here's what you do. You write down how many doors you had at the start of the year, okay? But you have to track that. If you're like, I know how many I have now, but I don't know how many I had at the start of the year. Well, you may be able to go back and figure that out if you look at last year's data, but you need to track this. So how many doors did you have at the start of the year? So let's pretend you had 100 doors at the start of the year. Second thing you need to know is how many doors at the end of the year, so you don't measure this until the end of the year, but once you get to the end of the year, how many doors did you lose? Okay, so let's pretend you lost 12 doors. You started with 100, you lost 10. You say, well, but Mark, what about the doors I gained? Don't pay attention to that. That's not a calculation within your attrition measurement. What you brought on is great, but that doesn't tell us anything about attrition. All we're doing is starting with 100. We lost 12 during the year. We take 12, we divide it by 100. We move the decimal 2 places. Remember like third grade math to calculate a percentage? It gives us 12%. So our attrition rate was 12%. We lost 12% of our doors over the course of the year. You say, well, Mark, that doesn't make sense because I finished the year at 150, so I actually gained more. I understand that. That's not what we're measuring here, though. You're only measuring how many doors you lost. This has nothing to do with how many you brought on. That's a separate calculation. Okay, so what does that mean? What is 12% good? Is 12% bad? Let me give you some different categories and tell you what that means about your business. Number one, if your attrition was less than 10%, you need to start charging more because you are in like the top amazing percentage of property managers in the world. Very, 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 and I mean very few property managers lose less than 10%. 10%, in my opinion, is the average if you're doing things perfectly. You're going to lose 10% because of life. Those 10% love you. You didn't do anything wrong, but life happens to at least 1 out of every 10 owners. So if it's less than 10, people probably should be leaving you and they're not, which tells me you're not charging enough. You have a tremendous amount of pricing power built in. You need to charge more for the level of service you're providing because you are doing amazing if you're under 10%. Okay, what about 10 to 20%? Well, I kind of stole my own thunder there, but you're still amazing. You're doing fabulous. If you're under 20%, because remember what I said, 10% is going to happen no matter what. Doesn't matter what you do. You could offer to work for free and you're going to lose 10%. Because they're going to sell or they're going to move back or whatever is going to happen. 10 to 20, you're still doing fabulous. Now, this is a little bit of a fluctuation of the market because when the sale market gets hot, your attrition goes up. The sales market is cooling now. We would expect to see our attrition rate be a little bit lower than it was from last year. But what you're trying to establish with this is your attrition baseline. Because if you know, for example, gosh, every year we lose 12%. Okay, well then how is it next year? Because suddenly next year, if it's 22%, now you can say, well, is that a function of a hot sales market or are we doing something wrong? Is the quality of our service declining so that owners don't want to work with us anymore? The trend number here is very, very important, my friends, over time. Now, before I tell you the next category, I want to thank our sponsor for this month's video, Pest Share. By the way, one of the most favorite names of any company I work with, Pest Share. I know these guys. These are really good guys. Pest Share is an opportunity for you to build into your resident benefit package pest control. You can say, hey, tenant, you got a problem with roaches or whatever. Here you go. We'll take care of it for you. You build into your resident benefit package. It's an amenity fee involved with that. They have other things you can add on to that as well. This needs to be something in your resident benefit package that you offer to your tenants. It's a way for you to provide them great service, and you also profit. That's why pest control, that pays you. So you've got a built-in revenue stream. You provide higher level of quality to your tenants through pest control. Jump on their website, Pest Share, check them out, tell them Marc sent you, get the demo. It's an amazing, unique addition that's going to help differentiate you from your competitor property managers around. Okay, category number three, 21 to 30%, I would do some analysis. You just need to ask yourself, hey, is the reason I'm this high because of something going on in the market, or am I doing something wrong? So the last couple of years, our sales market has been red hot. That means the last couple of years, if somebody wants to sell, it's like, yeah, sure, I'll sell. I can get how much for this property? Of course I'll sell. So you're going to lose 10% because of anything. The last couple of years, there have been an additional 10%, I believe, of attrition for PM companies because the rental market or the sales market's been so hot. So you got to do some analysis. Maybe it's just a function of your market, but that's borderline a little scary. If you get close to 30%, yikes. Now, if you're over 31%, something's wrong. And I think it has to do with you. You're not paying attention to your owner clients. You're not taking care of those people. You're doing something wrong because you should not, if it's a quality business in a normal market, you should not be losing 3 out of every 10 owner clients every year. And if you are, it also makes maintaining really hard because you got to grow by 30% just to stay flat, right? If you lose 3, if you have 100 doors and you lose 30%, you lose 30 owners that year, you got to pick up 30 new owners, what? Just to stay where you started the year at. That's a really hard thing to do. Now, if it is high, let me give you 3 suggestions. Number 1, you need to set better expectations on the front end. I wish we had more time because we could talk about that for so long. I know that some owner clients who leave you because they're not happy with your services, it's not that you did anything wrong other than number 1, you didn't set proper expectations on the front end. They were expecting X, you gave them Y, they're angry, they're leaving. And you say, well, I don't understand. I mean, we say in our management agreement on line 23, page 17, that we don't call them in advance of all repairs. Why do they not know that? Well, because they didn't get to section 23, line item 17 in your PMA. You got to tell them that. You got to set expectations on the front end. There's a variety of ways to do that. We don't have time right now to get into that. Number 2, focus on retention over acquisition. Property managers love to talk about growing their company. New owner clients, how do we grow? How do we market? How do we sign them up? And it's a fun, sexy conversation. You know what's not such a fun, sexy conversation? How do we retain our current clients? But it's even more important than getting new ones. Because if you retain 100% of your people, you don't have to grow by 30% just to maintain. So you got to focus on that. And number 3, part of the way you do that is to improve your owner communication. On an upcoming podcast, I think coming in next month on our Property Management Business Podcast, we have an entire podcast dedicated to number 3 there. How and when should you communicate with your owner clients? When do you communicate with them? What do you say in those communications? What do you not say, which is very, very important as well. What should your owner communication strategy look like? I'm really excited to record that one and release it. So depending on when you're watching this, jump on the podcast there and you can listen to me talk about that for longer. Hey, how else can we help you? Jump on our website, pmbuild.com, as we get into the new year. We've got system manuals. Have you downloaded our system manual package? You can download samples of those for free on there. Have you looked at our income stream training? You need to make more money next year? We train you right on PM Build. 30 different income stream avenues that are there. We've got PM 101, 201, 301 video courses you and your team can take. We've got so many resources on our pmbuild.com. We built that dedicated to 3 things: helping you build, grow, and protect your property management company. Consider it a resource, my friends. I wish you success as you close out this year. Until next time.